You don't know the industry you're in, and I kind of already proved it in my reel, but everyone's going absolutely ape shit about it. I'm getting text messages, DMs, and all sorts of stuff. So I wanted to say a few things. One, I'm going to jump into this ownership map again in more detail. Two, this is the exact type of breakdown and perspective that I teach in Strategic Artist Society because the issue is not that you don't know marketing, that your branding's not right, and all this other stuff, which could be an issue. The actual issue is you don't actually know the industry you're in, so you don't even know how to navigate the game you're playing. So today I'm going to do a deeper dive into the water and music ownership map. This was updated, I believe, March 2026. They updated in March, so there are going to be some changes. There are going to be some things that aren't on here. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. And last thing I'll say is you cannot if you cannot stand to read or look at something yourself and you require everything to be in a video, you simply are probably not going to make it. You're going to have to, you know, work up the stamina to actually read through text. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this map. Again, Water and Music created it. It's a great resource. I've been checking it out for years, actually, and it's really helped me navigate the music industry and also know when labels have incentives that they, leverage their artists for. But that's a completely different topic. So let's go ahead and jump in here. So let's start with the almighty BlackRock. Okay, everybody knows BlackRock. BlackRock is an investor in Primary Wave. Primary Wave is also invested in by Brookfield. BlackRock also has a 1.5 share in Spotify. BlackRock is also the top shareholder in Warner Music Group. BlackRock is a co-investor in Influence Media Partners. Warner Music is a co-investor in Influence Media Partners. CAA invests in Primary Wave. CMC Capital, Temasek, and Artemis all invest in CAA. So here you can kind of see we got BlackRock, Spotify, Influence Media Partners, Warner, all connected, and CAA loosely. So what you're looking at is essentially who's in the orbit of each other. And this is going to tell you a few different things like, are they incentivized to push, Spotify? Are they incentivized to upstream people to Warner? Are they incentivized to bring the catalog to Primary Wave? These are all things that you should know when you're making decisions. This is basic corporate strategy. It's not this secret, spooky thing. It's literally business at this level, 6, 7, 8, 9 figures, and I'm sure 10 and some. Anyway, so Temasek invests is the co-owner of SoundCloud. SiriusXM is an investor in SoundCloud. SiriusXM owns Pandora. So here we can see Pandora, Sirius, and SoundCloud. They got a little click going on. Creator Partners, also an investment firm. They're an investor in SoundCloud and they co-own Reverb. Servco is a co-owner of Reverb and majority owner of Fender. So that's just one, right? We got the Rain Group. Here's Create Music Group. Create Music Group owns IK7 and Monster Cat. And then you can click these and kind of see what they are. So I'm going to click IK7. Let's take a look at what this is. So IK7 is an independent music label that does label, sync licensing, and label services. And they have some of these people on there. It looks like it might be regionally specific. But now that we are aware, we know that IK7 is really just downstream of Create Music Group. So what you can guess is that, or I don't even know how to say this, exclamation point K7, not good phonics. But anyway, we can guess with a reasonable level of assumption that if you do well on this level, on this label, they're going to upstream you to Create, or they're going to be incentivized to upstream you to Create. because it's keeping them in their ecosystem. Create also invest in Network Music Group and FlexPoint Ford invested in Network and Duetti. So we can also guess that if you're a member of Network, they're going to be incentivized to either upstream you to create or recommend that you use Duetti. Let's take a look over here. So here we have Liberty Media. Liberty Media owns a third of Live Nation, who owns Ticketmaster. So as you guys are complaining about the Ticketmaster Live Nation thing, Live Nation owns Ticketmaster. This may be, again, this was in March 26th. It's going to be updated. So Liberty Media owns Live Nation. Live Nation is a co-owner of Rock Nation, and Rock Nation is an investor in Duetti. So again, if you're on Rock Nation, you're probably going to be incentivized as an artist to use Duetti. C3 Presents, I don't even know what that is. Let's go ahead and take a look. So C3 does live experiences, concerts, and event. Shout out C3. I knew immediately what you did. Good job on the website. Concerts, events, casinos, artist management, private booking. So they do a lot of stuff. They might be a small team based on the website. But again, guys, this is more about orientation and navigation than it is about the big bad music industry. And like, I'm just gonna stop and pause here for a second. Well, everyone likes to villainize the music industry. Part of the reason you're villainizing it is because actually just don't understand how it works at all. Like, you don't understand how to build assets, you don't understand the language of leverage, and you certainly don't understand the playing field you're on. And that is evident here. So let's keep going. Then we have Waterland Private Equity. So another thing you could do, right, is like click some of these private equity companies. Let's just pick Waterland as an example. And we're going to share this tab instead. So you can see here, excuse me, you can see who's on the board. You can see what they care about. You can look at their portfolio. So they have Belgian business software, cruise company, healthy drinks, all of this stuff. So they got 16 pages in their portfolio. So they're diversified. Now, from a strategy standpoint, right? Let's say that I'm an artist and I am, you know, um, working with a company that's owned by a private equity firm. If I want to figure out who I can work with in terms of brands and brand partnerships, to me, the easiest place to start would to be to look at the private equities portfolio and see if there's anything aligned. So, for example, if these people, Waterland, were invested in me, and I was like, "Damn, I really need to make my own beer," am I going to go hit up Budweiser? No, I'm going to go look at these people and say, "Oh, look, there's a brewery that's family owned." And blah blah blah. Waterland holds a majority stake. I'm going to go figure out how to talk to these people, and I'm going to position myself in alignment with the goals of the private equity firm. But again, you guys don't know how this shit works, so you're probably not going to do that, and you can barely stand to read an article, so you're not going to make it anyway. And I know that seems a little bit cynical, but I mean, guys, if you cannot read a fucking article or stand to look at information yourself, you are signing up to be misinformed. Even you should check everything I tell you because it might be out of date, right? So, anyways, here we have Penske Media Corporation. So you'll notice that this private equity is dark orange, I'll call it. And then we have this goldenrod color for Penske. I can't remember what the colors mean, so I'm gonna go over here to the actual legend, and we're gonna see. So private equity is that orange, great. Here we go. The goldenrod is major media and tech conglomerates. Thank you so much for making this again. Water Music, Sherry, who you absolutely crush this. I love this shit. So again, here we go. This one's really interesting. So we have Penske Media Corporation, who owns Luminate. Luminate is the data aggregator that reports to Billboard. And they're owned by the same person, okay? Then you also have Variety and Vibe. Billboard, Variety, Vibe, and Music Business Worldwide are kind of all on the same lunch table. They're all sitting at the same table. So while people are always complaining about how music is so fragmented and everything's siloed, it's because, in my opinion, of these investment strategies. Now, do I think everything should become a monolith? No. But we're not here to talk about my opinions. We're talking about navigation of the music industry and which lunch tables are which. So anyway, Penske here. We also have owned South by Southwest, Dick Clark Production, and Life is Beautiful. I'm not too sure what Life is Beautiful is, so what am I going to do? I'm going to click it. I'm going to go to the website, and then I'm going to what? Read. Let's go ahead and read together here. It's taking a little bit to open. It's not opening. I am not in the business of trying to figure out people's websites that aren't working properly. So, anyway, that's what Penske got going on. Here we got Believe, Black Stone. So, Black Rock and Black Stone are not the same. I know some of you guys probably think it is, but it's not. They're different. They're different people. They're different um, firms. And sometimes these firms, as you can see, will go halfsies on an investment. It's pretty common. As a music artist, if you're watching this, one of the end, I wouldn't say goals, but one of the end events, or not end, but one of the major milestones in an artist's career is getting investment, is creating enough proof of concept to that they create leverage, they speak the language of leverage, usually through the conduit of a manager who then gets them investment either from an independent investment firm or one of these. So here we have this is interesting as well. We have Blackstone, who owns Citron Cooperman. That is a consulting firm that does a lot of professional services. Shout out to my friends there. Blackstone owns E1. E1's cool. Blackstone also owns CSAC, Audio Salad, and Hawk. They also invest in Epidemic Sound, which owns Song Sleuth, and EQT went in on Epidemic Sound. And EQT owns United Talent Agency. So again, think of these as lunch tables. Everybody's sitting at the lunch table together. Maybe these guys and these guys aren't friends, but if these guys want to hit up these guys, all they got to do is call their friends, right? So let's just take a look at some of these other things, because what I find is interesting is that a lot of people villainize, and again, I don't have an opinion. I'm more so looking at the culture and people and how they think, because thinking strategically is so important. But like, so Spotify, right? Everyone's like, Spotify invests in war. Well, let's take a look at other people's. Let's take a look at other people's um, investments. You got to start thinking, like, when you're dealing with nine figures and higher, there's only certain things that are going to bring you a return on your investment. So Blackstone's a little too big for me to look at their portfolio, but let's keep looking here. So here's Suno. Who do we got in Suno? Nvidia. Suno, also Hallwood. Okay, I don't know if many people know, but Hallwood is signing AI artists. If they don't know, if you guys didn't put that out publicly, sorry. But also, I'm not bound to be quiet either. So you guys are investing in Suno. You also have Lightspeed Venture Partners in Suno and Stability AI, which owns Stable Audio. And Nvidia owns, obviously, Nvidia Venture Capital. So anyway, guys, you got a few loaners up here. Bridford owns Amuse. Sixth Street owns App Venue. Next Management Partners. Let's keep looking. And then this is where I think you guys you don't understand the industry you're in. You have a Saudi Arabian public investment fund, which this is common. This is not an epiphany to a lot of people. Like, I've seen catalog deals, $300 million being talked about with, people from other countries, and It's crazy out here. So, anyways, then we got KKR, which owns the Cobalt Capital Fund music rights portfolio. So, what these people do is they get a bunch of money and then they start purchasing catalogs so that way they can flip them like wholesale real estate. Let's keep going. Mid Ocean owns Music Reports, who owns Blocker. I actually don't know what Blocker is. I'm going to click it because you know what I want to do? I want to read. So, let's start. Let's share this tab. Blocker. So maybe this is German or something. I don't know. So this looks like official MLC partner, Billboard. This looks actually pretty interesting to me and what I'm doing at Catalog Diligence Partner. So I'm going to probably take a look at this later because why? I understand, you know, the landscape I'm in. So, anyways, instead of being consistently frustrated with people's lack of initiative and learning shit, I want to just continue. I already went on the whole Sony one. So I don't really want to get into it again. We zoom out here a little bit and see how deep the lines go with Sony. Sony owns a large portion of uh, stuff here. And then we got Harborview. Apollo Global Management is in a joint venture with Harborview. And they financed Sony. They also financed Concord. And the Michigan State Retirement Systems, which I believe is a I don't want to misspeak on the government. The Michigan government is who owns Concord. Okay. So like let's stop pretending we're just making fucking songs, guys. We're not just making fucking songs. Sony owns Hypnosis, AWOL, The Orchard. They're also an investor in BeatStars, who owns Lemonade. And again, I'm not villainizing any of this. I'm not villainizing any of the people. There are amazing people who actually give a fuck at some of these companies. And what's interesting is like when you're out blasting it, and doing all that, all you're really doing is saying, I don't know how this shit works and it's confusing and scary. And like, you know, I get it. I've been you, but then I educated myself a little more. Not saying I know everything because I certainly don't. I learn something new every day. Shout out to everyone who helps me on my journey of constant learning. I've been really, really blessed to speak to decision makers and CEOs and founders of huge companies and investors myself. So thank you again for, just speaking to me and, I want to humanize this a little bit because I'm kind of sick of the whole scapegoat of the music industry is fucked up because we all know it's fucked up. There's great people inside of it trying every day to fix it. And I think to the private equity bros out there, until you understand that the consumer base and the customer base in music does not operate like other consumer brands, you're going to keep just running into issues in the companies that you're building. Um, it's a little bit more collaborative than maybe, healthcare or restaurants. And anyway, so here's this lunch table, Caldecott Music Group. I don't know who the hell they are. Let's take a look because we know your ass ain't gonna read. So I'm gonna share this tab instead. Love the website. Operator, innovator, and investor connecting the world of music. So again, if I'm a music artist and I'm sitting at this lunch table, I'm gonna look at the lunch table before I look outside. So BandLab, they have BandLab. They have guitars, guitar.com. They're launching an education platform on BandLab. And why? Because it's top of funnel, guys. And I know that my downside is thinking everyone can think this way. And I'm learning that the way that I think is not normal. So I'm happy to share this with you. Let's look at these lunch tables. We got WonderCo, they got Mixcloud and Encore, STG, which got Avid and Pro Tools. These guys are just little islands on their own. I mean, Pro Tools and Avid probably made so much money. Why the hell would you want to invest in anything else? You got Hybe, which owns Supertone and Weavers, and Universal invests in Weavers. Let's go down here to Universal. Universal also has a share in Spotify. So does Tencent Holdings. So does Sony, so does BlackRock, so does Morgan Stanley. Over here we have Francisco Partners, which owns Cobalt. So you got Cosign in there as well. New Enterprise Associates invest in 11 labs. Okay, and they're a partner in Connect Ventures. Andreessen Horowitz is an investor in United Masters. United Masters is an investor in Udio. Apple is an investor in United Masters. Alphabet owns Google. Google owns Producer AI. Alphabet invests in BMI. New Mountain Capital and BMI. So, anyways, guys, I'm not going to go super deep into this. We got Silver Lake, who owns the majority share in WME, Yamaha Corporation here, and we got Mogul over here. Um, anyways, this is the whole thing. If you want to look into it, you know what to do. Again, shout out Water and Music for creating this. I love this resource, and I will be looking for the updates in March 26th. You also have this here. You can see how they broke down the legend, and here are the sources. So if you have any questions or comments, you can drop them in the comments. If you are an artist or manager and want to learn how to navigate the industry you're actually in and how to create leverage, and just speak the language of leverage, really, I will just briefly show you what I do. So I am in my seventh iteration of an education product. This is the most comprehensive product that I've ever put out. And essentially, it is 45 lessons, 5 hours of curriculum, and one OS. It wasn't designed to be easy to understand. We saw that. So what my community and all the stuff I'll go through really quick does is take all this scrambled noise and turns it into something you can understand. There's 9 layers to it. We got the curriculum, we have the lessons, we have the video, the learning paths, we have the 7 strategic guides, starting from what I believe to be the best structure, starting with the artist, getting the artist and the product, which is the music, right first, and then moving up. I am a music person. We also have workbooks, so that way you can work. I also have a dashboard in Notion, so you can stay organized and operate like an enterprise that maybe could get investment someday. I also have an interactive learning center through Notebook LM. It's really, really cool. I think Notebook LM does a great job of helping people learn. So that's where I programmed the learning assistant. Then we have the Heartbeat community, where everyone just is in there learning, talking, chatting. We have events in there as well. Expert sessions. My next one's July 20th. You're probably going to see this after, but you can see here we're talking about the future of AI music. It's free for members and not free for non-members. I also have a strategic intelligence newsroom where this video is going to go as well. Really keeping your eyes on what matters instead of just getting lost in the noise. Also, a resource library where I drop all the tools, software, resources, databases, links. So, the philosophy there is stop operating blind, understand the industry you're in. This is a complete strategic operating system for today's independent artists, because this is all the shit you gotta navigate. These are all the pieces to your career. And I think that the artists should know as much as humanly possible so that they can find the right partners and make realistic goals. So if you want to become strategic, confident, intentional, structured, compounding your career, independent, and leveraged, join this. It's in the founder package right now. Here's some testimonials you can pause and look through. Founder package is only $280. This will go up 100%. And it's invite only. So you're going to have to go ahead and apply here. I did this because a lot of communities on the internet just wind up being a lot of ruckus and people that are like blasting their links all the time. I don't want people in here that don't understand nuance. I don't want people in here who are just trying to skip steps. I really want to help build the next generation of music artists to be able to operate in the ecosystem that you just witnessed me go through. So if you have questions, you can go through here. I'll put the link in the description, because the artists who win won't just make better music. They'll understand the system better than anybody else. I'm Big Soph. Thanks for being here. Smash the buttons below so I can keep doing this shit. And I will see you guys in other places on the internet. Goodbye.